Okay. If you see that huge tree root that comes out right there, I'm going to go over and have a seat on that. And I am at the place where I had my fifth sighting. I just wanted to be able to, and yes, I'm armed. I've never had a problem with them. They let me be armed. They've always allowed me to be armed because they know that I would actually use it to defend them, not against them. So let me tell you a story. This is how I got started as far as researching. I'd hooked up with Mr. Tom Cantrell, and somebody had put, one of my friends had put out there on the internet that he was writing a book called Sasquatch Face to Face. I'm in Sasquatch Face to Face, chapter 26. So they were looking for people that had close-up sightings. Well, mine's about as close as you get without touching them. I was within 2 feet, maybe just a little less. So I wrote Tom, and Tom replied, said, if I like your story, I'll bump somebody out of the book and put yours in. Well, everybody's story made the book, but he did put my story in. Matter of fact, I wrote it. Most of us wrote our own that are in the book. It's available on tomcantrell.com, TomCantrall.com. If you would like to purchase that book, I'm sure, and if you put in the notes down there, there's messages that you can put in with it. If you'd like it autographed to you personally, or given it as a gift and have it sent elsewhere. He sent my son one and autographed it and wrote a nice thing about me in there. But this is where it started, kinda. It actually started a week earlier on my birthday, which is March 20th. And this was in 2022. No, 2021, sorry. I'm getting older, you know. My memory's not so perfect. But I had previously attended Squatch Fest. First festival I ever went to up in Vancouver, Washington. I met up with a couple of friends of mine there. Todd Neese. Unfortunately, at the time, Todd had just buried one of his favorite pets, one of his dogs. So he was having a little rough time. You know, a lot of us people consider them our fur babies, and they're part of family. And that's the way it should be. You know, they're not our pets. We don't own them. We're their caretaker, and we choose to take care of them and be friends with them. But Todd was there. I'd been talking to him a week or two previous. Ken Gerhard, and at the time, I was solid flesh and blood. I didn't believe in all the other, what they call the woo. I didn't believe it at all. You know, oh no, there's just no way all these things could happen. And things have changed because I've got to experience those things. It's been an incredible journey, and trust me, it's been a very strange and very deep rabbit hole. And I still haven't found the bottom of it. Still looking, as many of us are. This is a spot that I call the Triangle Marsh, because it is in a triangle form. I was sitting right here when my sighting happened, because from right here I can see out across this entire field that's out here. It's not very far. It's about 75 yards across. And the place that I've come to, I've hunted this area for 40 years. I've never had an interest in Sasquatch. My interest was in freezer training a deer. Because I'm sorry, but Bambi is very yummy. And I do enjoy my venison. Been a long time since I've hunted because this whole Sasquatch thing has got me to where I'm afraid if I shoot one, they're going to steal my deer. It's like, hey guys, that's for me. At least leave me the backstrap. You can have the rest. But, well, after Squatch Fest, which Ken Gerhard and I sat back and we kind of tore down the speakers, especially the woo speakers. And we were very valid in the evidence that we did tear apart of theirs. Because there's other ways for things to happen. As I say, you really have to be critical. One person was trying to pawn off double-step bear prints as Sasquatch tracks. And you could see where the single prints were of the bear, and then you could see the double steps. So it was pretty obvious. So between that time and my birthday in March, I'd seen a couple podcasts, and I decided, well, I'm going to watch one on Tom Cantrell and learn a little bit about him, because I hadn't met him yet. We probably sent 30 emails back and forth while I was formulating my chapter, and he was doing whatever corrections needed to be doing. If I missed something, or we went back and forth for a while to make sure that it was correct, and that I had everything that I could think of in there at the time, which was pretty good because as far as that incident, my face-to-face, it was burned in my memory pretty deep. I was 17 years old at the time, and it was back in 1981. I'm 61 years old right now. Today is September 23rd, 2025, and 10 days ago was the anniversary of my 6th sighting, which is only about a mile across the valley here, on the other side of the valley, where that happened. And my new teammate Stan had 2 sightings there, back to back, just minutes away from each other. He had his 2nd sighting right here, and I had number 10 right here, not very long ago. It was at the end of July. So it's only been 2 months, or just under 2 months. And his first sighting was down the road here. If you paid attention to my page, I had put up a footprint that was on a very steep bank, very large footprint. We determined it to probably be my alpha female that I call Mama. And we also discovered there was fingerprints or finger marks where she dug in the ground because her foot was slipping down the hill because it's a very steep bank. Another friend of Ron's who worked for the state doing excavations and stuff recognized that below that there was even another mark that we didn't see, which was where the knee went down. We missed that part. It's just beautiful out here right now. It's a nice day. It's supposed to be close to 100 degrees in town. Up here, it's in the upper 50s. Sorry, I'm reflecting on different things. So I said I come to this mountain. I've been coming here for 40 years. It's just a beautiful place up here. I will actually do a separate posting of just photographs of the area up here to show you the beautiful Douglas firs and the beautiful flowers and different things that I find up here, because I might be squatching, but I'm also taking pictures. I forage for foods. I forage for medicines. This whole field, when I turn the camera around, is there's a lot of milkweed here, so there's a lot of good butterfly hatches and a lot of good butterfly food here. So it's a great spot. Um, when I came up here and had my sighting, it was just after winter. The snow had just melted off, and I mean just melted off because I couldn't go any farther up the road here. I was stopped by a 3-foot bank of snow that I wasn't going any further. So in between my birthday and Squatch Fest, I watched the Tom Cantrell video, and Tom made a statement in there that once they make a mental connection with you, that it lasts for a very long time, and sometimes it's for life. That's something that kind of caught my attention. I've always been, because I have, we'll call abilities. I used to suppress them. Matter of fact, I suppressed them most of my life because I'm one of those people where I could see things coming and my dreams came true. And I just got to a point in time when I was 14 that had some things happen that just scared me badly. So I trained myself not to remember my dreams. I just didn't want anything to do with those abilities. I just kind of threw them out the door. But I saw Tom, his podcast, and he'd made that statement. Then I saw another one. And this is the one that really kind of got me to where I lost my fear. Because it made me think back to previous sightings I had when I was younger. And somebody made a statement that they never tried to hurt me. And that stuck in my mind. I perseverated on that, which meant was going over and over in my mind about it. And thought about the sightings that I had, especially my face-to-face, and it's like, I'm right there. He's right there. He never tried to hurt me. Never raised a hand towards me. It just was such a big, scary thing for me. I mean, he was almost twice my width at the shoulders, over 9 feet tall, about 3 feet deep in the chest. That's like, out to here for me, that's like 3.5 of me. That's quite a thing to see, especially right there in your face. His eyes were glowing. There wasn't any light for them to reflect off. So these people that call it eye glow, I continually correct, because even in spots where there is absolutely zero light on the darkest night, their eyes create their own light. Don't ask me how. I don't know. They are high vibrational people. And yes, I call them people. I think calling them Bigfoot is kind of offensive to them, that they don't really care for it a whole lot. So I've always called them the forest people. Or, heck, I just call them family, because I've been around them so much. There are a handful of us that are able to do that. You've got Arla Colette Williams. And she's part of my learning, too, as far as what I've learned to be able to do this and interact with the Sasquatch people. But that's another story. Tom Cantrell, reading his books and seeing some of his things, he has a thing called armchair squatching. And that brings me to where I'm at now. I decided I'm going to call bullshit. Sorry for the language, but there's no other way to put it, is I'm going to call bullshit on Tom Cantrell. Even though I was already going into his book and everything else, you know, I wasn't into the woo. I was straight flesh and blood, because that's what I've always seen. I never saw any weirdness or craziness, except for the glowing eyes. That was quite something that stuck in my mind for a long time. And I'd seen it another time in my sighting directly after that one, which would have been my number 3 sighting, and I saw it directly in my number 4 sighting. And my own mother was a witness to that one. She had eyes on through the whole sighting, and so did I. So I decided, okay, they've never tried to hurt me. What am I afraid of? I've always faced my fears in life. I used to be afraid of heights. I was afraid of several things. Then I realized and learned by studying psychology on my own. That's just the way I am. I study about things that I'm interested in, and which everybody should. You know, self-education is an amazing thing, and it puts you ahead of everybody else. Sometimes you get so smart you sound like a loon when you talk, because other people have no understanding of it. They can only understand through their own comprehension. And if they're not comprehending what you're putting out there, they're never going to understand no matter what you do. So I decided, okay, I was working as a caregiver at the time. I worked in a lockdown facility for people with traumatic head injuries. And the reason it's locked down for people like that is because sometimes the injury shifts a mechanism in them that makes them very dangerous. Wanting to kill, wanting to hurt, wanting to harm. And that's what I went through every day for 7.5 years. And I had to protect my team that I worked with. I was a medical aide in the facility as well as a caregiver. It was quite a mentally draining, physically draining job. But I did what I had to do. The only reason I left there is because of the shot, and I refused the shot because I did my research. I've been a researcher probably since I was in my late 20s. I researched the medical system. I researched the pharmaceutical system. I researched government. I researched many things, things that bothered me, and I wanted to find out the truth of things. That's why you'll see a lot of posts that I do. I'm way ahead of what's going on right now. I've been ahead of that curve on it forever. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I am a critical thinker. And I use critical thinking and reasoning. And that's what makes it good for me to investigate these things with the Sasquatch people. Because I really look at things. I dismiss probably 90 to 95% of the evidence that I find. Excuse me. So the things that I show you are things that I have really tried every reason in the world to tear apart, to say it was natural. Never give up being skeptic. You have to be skeptical of all your own evidence. Everybody wants to say everything's Sasquatch. It's not. Mother Nature does a lot of things. Sometimes things happen in a way where it looks really good, and I'm going to show you a lot of those things, but it's not real. It was done by nature. It was done by windfall. It was done by snow load. It was done by ice load. There's a lot of things that are like that. They look really good as far as possible evidence, but they're not. You have to really look around, look at things. Look, oh, this tree fell across here. It clipped this on its way down. You know, it pulled this thing down. Arches can happen by the same way as by ice or snow load. But when you find several of them in one spot, in one area of concentrated things where you find different other anomalies, you can really kind of start deducing, if you can't find any other way, that it was likely a Sasquatch. Without physically sitting there and seeing them do these things, which I would love to someday, watch them build a structure. That would just be a dream. I would love to touch one someday. I actually have friends that have. I don't dismiss anything anymore. I have seen things that I can't explain. I've got a vehicle coming, so beware. But let's get back to this sighting. So I went to call bullshit on Tom Cantrell. I may pause for this vehicle. It's diesel, so it's going to make a little more noise than normal. And then you got the crack of the gravel going by. And yeah, it's fire, guys. Because it's still fire season. We're still on a high level. And the local Mounties and the feds know I'm here. They know why I'm here. I've had those discussions with them, very friendly discussions. I don't pull any punches. I tell them what I'm doing and why I'm here. And I'm a Sasquatch researcher. I love it. I don't mind telling people. I used to kind of be reserved about it, but anymore, I don't care. I've reached the age of reason. The reason is I don't care anymore. It's a real thing. I've had lots of experience at it. Like I said, I've had 10 sightings. And most of those sightings have been close up. From 2 feet to 10 feet to 30 feet. It's pretty hard to dismiss when you're that close as that I was seeing things. So I conquered my fear because of that one statement. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to try to experiment a little bit because I used to have these abilities and I've kind of squashed them down for most of my life. And if they can read your thoughts and they're connected to you, what the heck? Why not give it a try? So I spent every waking moment for 7 days before I came here. I actually almost talked myself out of it on the very day that I had the sighting. And there was actually a, well, no, that wasn't that time. Everybody calls it mind speak. What it is telepathy. Won't call it anything different because it's not different. It is telepathy. I found that they know everything in your mind, and I think they are part of a mental collective. We human beings are too, and science is finally starting to put that together. I could state a lot of things that would tell you definitively that that's what's happening. A lot of us humans, we human beings are connected in a collective thought. And the Sasquatches are as well. So when one knows you, and I don't care if it's the Yowie in Australia or the Almas in the Soviet Union, they all know who I am. If you've had a sighting, they all know who you are. So I spent every day, every waking moment thinking, not about this spot, but there's a spot at the top of the mountain, a prairie area. That's where I wanted to meet them. And it was every day, and I thought hard. And I pictured the sightings that I had when I was growing up. And I told the one that I was face to face with, which I hope was the one I was connected with, I want to meet you. And I thought about it and pictured the place I wanted to meet. I've been coming here for 40 years. I can picture every square inch of this mountain. I've been on it all. When I hunt, I don't road hunt. I'm out here in the bush. I'm out in the brush. I'm out there beating the bushes. I get out here before sun up, and I don't leave till legal time where I can't hunt anymore. Then I head for home, exhausted, frustrated if I don't see anything or get anything. But it's the way it is. That's about hunting. Hunting is it's almost like a lottery. It's actually by chance that you happen to be in the right place at the right time. So I thought that entire week of where I wanted to be, the one that I wanted to see. And on the last day, friend Kip Morrill was over at the coast. I'd just been introduced to Squatch America through him. That he was, they were over there and they did a piece with him. And Kip was another Sasquatcher that was on my friends list. And I wrote Kip and said, hey, I'd like to come over and meet you because Kip and I hadn't met yet. And he wrote me back, and it was the day that I was coming up here, that morning. And so he says, well, I've got some things happening today. I've got some company. This was just after he retired, and he was hitting the road, and he's been on the road ever since. Him and his wife, Miriam. He's I can't do it right now. He says I'll be in Medford, and we'll hook up and maybe go have dinner or something and be able to chat. Well, that didn't happen either. So I actually ended up meeting him at Beachfoot. But I put a bunch of things out on the online to mess with him a little bit because he was the elusive, the Kip, and it was kind of a fun thing. But getting back to the story, Kip didn't want me to come up, so I just said, okay, I'm gonna go do some squatching for the first time in my life. I'd never gone out before. I'd never come out with that purpose in my entire life, with the purpose of squatching, as they call it. I don't really like the term a whole lot, but it's what everybody uses. They don't seem to mind it too much, at least not that they've ever informed me of, because they'll let me know when there's things they don't like. Like being called Bigfoot is one that they don't really care for. They're okay, but they really don't care for it. It's kind of a derogatory statement to them. It's like calling your girlfriend Big Butt. Not cool. She's going to get sick of it after a little while and probably dump your ass. So I was on my way up here, coming down the main highway here. And when I turn off to the main road that comes this way, I got a message. And it was, we're not going to meet you where you wanted to meet. I'm looking around in my van and thinking I'm going a little nuts or crazy. I'm hearing this big, very commanding, booming kind of voice in my head. But it didn't seem like it was in my head. It actually, I could hear it in my ears, in my mind. I could just hear it. And I was like I said, I was being open-minded, being open. I've always been an open-minded person. I was like, okay. That was kind of strange. So I turned off onto the highway over here. It brings me directly here. And I thought about that for a little while. Then I just put it out of my mind and went, well, maybe you were imagining something. Okay, just calm, relax. So when I get to this road and turn off the highway and hit the gravel, about 100 yards up there was a gentleman parked there. I stopped to see if I could assist him in anything. Wasn't sure if he was lost or what he was doing. I don't normally run into too many people up here, which I'm hardly ever get a car come through here. I've had 2 so far this morning. Actually, no, 3. Actually 3, which is very rare, and it's early in the morning. It's right around 10 a.m. right now. But he said, no, I'm just moved up from California, and I'm looking for places to ride my ATV. And so we had a conversation for a while. None of it was about Bigfoot at all. I didn't want anybody knowing what I was doing because I didn't want anybody thinking I was crazy, even though I didn't know this guy. So we had a conversation for a little while. I told him about some great spots up here. I told him to be very respectful where he was. I told him I've been coming up here for most of my life, and that I pick up the trash, I clean up things, and I hunt here, and I'd appreciate that. He's very respectful of it, and he was cool with it. So we stopped conversation. I parted and took off ahead of him. And that's when I got up past here, and it was just a few hundred yards up the road from here that I hit the snowbank, and I couldn't go any further. I'm driving a Dodge Caravan. It's not exactly a 4-wheel drive, and when there's a bank that's 3 feet high and it's just straight up and down, solid, I'm not going anywhere. And that being said, with 3 feet there, at the top of the mountain there was probably 15. That's how much snow we get up here. Because I'm in a high elevation right now. I'm at probably right around 4,000, 4,200 feet. So I came back. I had a spot where I could turn around and widen up in the road and turned around, came back down here and parked. Just minutes later, the other gentleman that I had the conversation with showed up down here. And we talked a little while for another half hour up here. And another guy in a big white 4x4 passed us up, and we started laughing. He's like, "Oh, he'll be back in a minute." Sure enough, he came flying back down the road after a few minutes, and he got turned around because he decided, I'm not going to make it. So he took off. And the gentleman and I, we finished our conversations, and he left. So I was like, okay, well, I'm doing the Tom Cantrell thing. I brought a lunch. I brought a book. The funny part is, the book I brought was Sasquatch Face to Face by Tom Cantrell. I hadn't finished reading it. I had actually just got it a week or so before, and I was going to take the opportunity to read it while I was sitting out here calling BS on him. So I came down from behind me here, about a quarter mile back from where I parked, and made my way through the woods here. I didn't know that, I didn't pay attention that I could actually park right outside here. There's a trail right here where the camera's sitting. It wasn't that good a trail back then, but the deer beat it down pretty well, so it's a really good trail. And I made my way. I found this tree root. And I was like, oh wow, this is a great bench. This is a perfect spot. I can sit here. This madrone's right here was a little bit smaller. It was probably down to here. It was just beginning to grow. It's grown up about 3 times the size it was already in the past 4.5 years, getting closer to 5. And I can see right out over the area here of what I call the Triangle Marsh. So as I sat down, I set my things down, and the first thought that came to my head was, and I didn't say it out loud or anything, I just thought it. Well, if you're here, give me a tree knock. It wasn't a half a second later, maybe 2 or 3 seconds at the most, coming from the southwest, I heard a tree knock that sounded like it was probably, I would say, a little over a quarter mile away. And I was like, thought to myself going, ooh, maybe you're hearing things. It could be an anomaly. Don't know. So I sat down, relaxed, started eating, ate a few bites of my lunch and put it back in the package and started reading the book. And then coming from the same way, here comes another vehicle. Coming from the same direction the tree knock came from, but really close, I heard a whistle. Then I heard another whistle directly to the west, and directly on the hill to my right, where my vehicle's parked and this car's driving by, there was another whistle. And so I discovered, wow, whatever that is, that's not a bird. That's not a bird I've ever heard. It was kind of from a high to low. And matter of fact, I heard it on the first episode of Expedition Bigfoot when they were here in Oregon. The same whistle, exactly the same whistle. And I've kind of figured it's a tactical whistle. They got me on 3 sides. They left me the way out, which is directly back to my vehicle, if they wanted to escort me out of here. So it wasn't a few minutes later, I heard from the west, directly straight across from me here, and I should have seen it, 3 super fast tree knocks. And I was like, wow, they were like machine gun tree knocks. And I should have been able to hit whatever it was with a rock from here. It was so close. And then I look out over the marsh here, and I see something that wasn't there before. It just looked like a large silvery bush. He was sitting there, kind of with his backside on his heels, his knuckles in front of him, and his head down. I stood up to get a better look, like I am now, and kind of rubbed my eyes like in the old cartoon fashion, going, am I seeing things? That wasn't there. I know that doesn't belong there. There is no bush there. What the hell is that? And then it finally dawned on me, oh, you're here. He came. He's older. He's got a silver sheen, like 2/3 of his hair out is silver now, but he's still black at the last third of his hair. But the way he was positioned, and one of the questions I had in my mind is how they hide in plain sight. He answered that question that day. They can sit like a statue. I could probably walk right by him within feet and not notice him. What makes us humans notice things is movement. That's how I noticed my first Sasquatch. My first sighting when I was 16 was because it moved and drew my attention to it because I was hunting. I'm looking for deer's ears to wiggle. So he was there. Those tree knocks had just happened, and which kind of had me worried. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And the next thing I know, I looked up, and the juvenile was standing next to his left shoulder. If I'm looking that way right now, it would be off my right shoulder, but off of his left shoulder because he was facing me. And he was just kind of there, just standing there, kind of a little sway left and right, which I didn't know about that at the time, and I'd never seen a juvenile. What I saw was a stick figure with hair. It was very skinny. You see these kids that have been in basement, living in their parents' basement, all these new, wild, weird kids that are dumber than a box of rocks. And about the only thing they've ever picked up is a video game controller. Their arms are about that big around. Their legs are about that big around. Their waist is about that big. They just have no muscle mass whatsoever. That's what he looked like. He was about 5 feet tall. And he's standing next to his dad. So I was like, wow, I'm being introduced to his juvenile. And I just started calling him Junior at the time. He kind of let me know he didn't really like Junior. So I tried to stay up to something, and I named him JJ. He really likes that name. Matter of fact, when Dr. Ariana Love had her sighting in Oak Ridge, he told her his name was JJ, which about made me fall out of my chair. I was sitting there talking to Ron Roseman when she first came up, and I actually posed the question, did he give you a name? Why? I don't know why I ever even asked that. And she mentioned JJ. And there's only one Sasquatch named JJ, and that's my juvenile. He's the only one on this planet. So that was quite a surprise. So I would get up every few minutes because I